You know what? It's been great to able to hear Sonic Boom theme song all over again, except the fact that, well, what makes this a little bit different this time around though? Actually, I'll explain more details about that once we get this video started. So, hey, what's up everybody? It is I am the one and only Sonic the Hedgehog here, and I am back for once again for the likes of the Mexi Toys videos here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Sonic Origins for the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X/S, as well as PC Steam, and finally the Nintendo Switch. So, last time, we've essentially did somehow managed able to completely done with Sonic the Hedgehog, specifically the original game. Basically, we able to actually just somehow complete 3 zones, including the final zone as well. So, relatively speaking, we did somehow explore through Labyrinth Zone, Starlight Zone, Scrap Rain Zone, and finally the final zone. And also, we did somehow achieve the best ending of the game, just because we've already collected 6 Chaos Emeralds after all. So today for this video is that we're about to get started with the second game in this entire compilation. That's what appears to be none other than Sonic the Hedgehog CD, which, despite the fact there's a bit of a confusion for its actual order, but ultimately speaking though, it does make sense to able to actually go into Sonic CD next, because obviously about the fact that, as you can tell, the actual sprites in Sonic CD looks a lot familiar, and especially noticeable about the fact that it looks very similar to the forms of how it does it in Sonic 1, except about the fact the matter is though, it's actually on new zones and stuff like that. I can assure you for this point. So, but either way, what's also is kind of interesting is about the fact that before you dive right into Sonic the Hedgehog CD, what I found is a little bit weird is that I honestly have no idea why does Amy Rose just somehow playing poker or card games of any sorts. You know, like, is she been too busy playing like Chain of Memories or something for Kingdom Hearts? I honestly have no idea, but either way though, that's besides the point. So, anyway, so as you can probably tell about the fact the matter is though, that when it comes to playing Sonic CD in Sonic Origins, obviously this is entirely based off from the 2011 remastered version of the game. You know what I mean with all that smooth frame rate in the special stages, as you can tell, and especially noticeable with the forms of the methods they're able to travel back in time, or in some cases travel to the past or future for its you know, you have to get a correct amount of speed in order able to actually just to travel to past or future or present day. But either way, that might be saying something. So, now if you're probably wondering about the fact the matter is though, how come you're able to actually start the game off as in the US soundtrack, if you're probably wondering? Well, I was expecting the same thing, because what if you managed able to first time you're playing through Sonic Origins for yourself, basically though, you almost first thought to yourself about the fact that, oh boy, I cannot wait able to hear that amazing European and Japanese soundtrack again, right? Well, it turns out about the fact that the actual default setting, for the sake of the forms of whenever you first start up the Sonic CD game on Sonic Origins, they do realize that it does not set the actual the default setting for the Japanese and European soundtrack, because all you get is just basically the US soundtrack, which I know for a fact that we've already did this game Let's Play for Sonic CD back in 2017, based off from the forms of the 2011 remastered version of the game, because relatively speaking though, about the fact that not only do we done 1 playthrough, but 2 playthroughs as well, both Sonic and Tails included, and because of that, I remember back in the day that we did somehow did the Sonic's playthrough for the European and Japanese soundtrack playthrough, and as far as Tails playthrough is concerned, we did somehow manage to go for the US soundtrack. So I figure that this time around though, for this year though, we'll go for the actual alternative route by going through Sonic's playthrough in Sonic Origins with the US soundtrack, because, relatively speaking though, about the fact that if you ever play as Tails on the 2011 remastered version of Sonic CD, there's no opening cutscene if you do somehow manage to play as Tails, or there's no ending cutscene at all, because all you're really hearing is just, well, the instrumental version of that particular Sonic Boom ending theme, which, speaking of Sonic Boom though, it's like not to be confused as the actual different universe of Sonic the Hedgehog with the forms of different particular designs for Sonic and crew, but either way though, we're not going to mention about that until 2024, because next year will mark the 10th anniversary of the Sonic Boom universe. But either way though, that's besides the point. So obviously, to get the special stages though, in order to be able to actually access to them, similar to the forms of how it does it on Sonic the Hedgehog 1, you still need to be able to collect 50 rings, and then once you reach at the very end of the level, basically there's a giant ring at the end of the actual act. And basically you have to jump into it, because otherwise, if you don't, basically though, you probably gonna have to try again on the next zone. So either way, as you can see, since we're now on Act 3 of the very first zone in Sonic CD called Palmtree Panic, and basically though, as you can see, we've actually restored everything for the good future, basically, because in order to be able to actually access to the good future, is that you got able to destroy every single robot generators in 2 acts per zone. So because of this though, not too complicated on the first zone, so it's just about the fact that in order to be able to destroy the the robot generator, is that you have to travel back to the past, and then you have to be able to find the robot generators, and that way you should be good to go. So yeah, not much else to say about this, apart from the fact that, well, today's day is of course the 18th of February today, in this case in 2023 today. Not much else to talk about, apart from the fact that, well, relatively speaking though, hopefully by that time until next week, that, oh, hello Amy. And where's her voice clip? Where's her voice clip? I almost first thought she's gonna go like, ah! As a scream for kidnapping by, Metal Sonic, in this case the doppelganger of myself. But either way though, I've honestly have no idea why they somehow removed that. Oh, wait a minute. I suppose I should probably mention about this right now. There are some, weird changes to this version compared to the forms of how it does it on, not only the original version of the game on the Sega CD, but also with the forms of the Sonic Gems Collection version based off on the PC version, and especially noticeable with the 2011 remastered version of the game as well. Now, for whatever reason, most of those voice clips have been removed entirely, like ranging from Amy's scream, and especially noticeable if you probably already noticed that we've already got ourselves, the extra life, or technically a coin. So, relatively speaking though, if you get an extra life, or a coin for that matter, there's no voice clip around here. So all you get is just this generic sound effect if you manage to able to get like, the special coin, or if you collect like 100 rings, essentially it gives you an extra life on the classic mode. And speaking of which though, is about the fact that you even notice about the fact that there are some slight changes to the forms of that particular opening cutscene, as we've already seen it in action with the forms of that Sonic Boom theme song, which is only be played on a North American soundtrack, whilst compared to the Japanese and the European version, that the song you were able to hear is You Could Do Anything. So because of that, I can totally see why a lot of people seem to able to prefer, the European and Japanese soundtrack a lot more. In fact, let me know in the comments down below for the question of the day. Which specific different versions of a soundtrack do you prefer in terms of Sonic CD? Do you love the European and the Japanese soundtrack? Or do you love the US soundtrack? Well, I'm actually on the latter of the forms of every now and then the European and Japanese soundtrack a bit more, just because, oh man, there are certain songs or certain music for the European and Japanese soundtrack are so upbeat and catchy. Although don't get me wrong, I don't mind the US soundtrack, but relatively speaking though, there are few tracks I do seem to be able to enjoy in the US soundtrack department, like let's just say Tidal Tempest for example, and especially noticeable with the forms of Stardust Speedway, and as well as from that though, there was Palmtree Panic, as you probably already hear ever since the beginning of this video, so relatively speaking though, everything else will be pretty much expected from that point. So anyway, so there's our third time stone, and yes, just like the forms of how it does it on Sonic the Hedgehog 1, I will definitely gonna go after every single time stones in this game. So because of that, this time around though, there are 7 of these MacGuffins as opposed to 6. So as a result, things get a little bit more relative at this point, especially noticeable if we dive right into, you know, once we're done with Sonic the Hedgehog CD, we can expect we can able to move on to Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and you probably name the rest. So either way though, and just like the forms of how it does it on Sonic 1 on the Sonic Origins compilation, you're still able to actually get access to the drop dash ability, so as a result, nothing different from there. But relatively speaking though, about the fact that, and also you can able to still perform a spin dash, which I'm presuming to you is almost like based off from the 2011, you know, remastered port. So because of that though, things get a lot more like manageable at that point, and especially noticeable about the fact that obviously Sonic CD was actually the introduction to the Sonic's new move called the Super Peel Out, which obviously goes like a figure 8 dash, so as a result though, that's actually a pretty cool ability to have when it firstly introduced, and I very appreciate able to actually bring that back for not only for the likes of Sonic Chaos as well as Sonic Triple Trouble, and maybe a bit on Sonic Blast, but ultimately speaking though, when it comes to like in Sonic Mania, I always appreciate able to have that move back. So either way though, well, that's as far as I can try to explain about that. And since about the fact that since this is now, you know, 2023 right now, oh gee, this game will actually become 30 years old this year. So because of this though, despite it did came out on this miserable flop add-on for the Mega Drive / Sega Genesis, well, relatively speaking though, I still think this is a really cool Sega CD game, I'm not gonna lie, despite the fact that I haven't exactly got the original copy of the game, just because it is still pretty expensive for the sake of the forms of the UK version of that particular copy, and stupid, I was expecting to able to keep my 50 rings, but I just keep on fell into those specific enemies, which, kind of think about it, they almost kind of reminds me like slicers somehow. Well, except the fact that they do have, like, I don't know, different moves up on our sleeves, but either way though, I've honestly have no words to think about it. Oh, there was actually a path there, so I can probably go up there for the better. Because I can appreciate about the fact that that'll essentially take me there, so there we go. So now we're able to actually see the good future version of Act 3 until coming up, so either way. So, yeah, not much else to talk about, I'm afraid, guys, as I said. Well, apart from the fact that, well, relatively speaking, that by that time until next week, that Silver the Hedgehog will definitely gonna have to finish up with Mega Man X at some point in during the forms of next week, either way. And relatively speaking though, about the fact that, well, Maxie is almost finishing up with Donkey Kong 64, because after all, that's, well, as far as for his progression goes, I'm pretty sure he's now on to the, this next world called Creepy Castle, and as a result, he's doing rather well so far. So relatively speaking though, that's all I could really say about this for the most part, so. And speaking of which though, about the fact that in terms of every single like aspects I can probably able to expect to mention, that's well, as far as for his you know, Cap King 74's progressioning for the sake of Paper Mario 2000 New Door, well, basically he's now on to chapter 2 so far, so relatively speaking though, yeah, pretty cool for his part, especially noticeable because, well, despite the fact that, well, relatively speaking, he does have some bit of screw-ups every now and then for his commentary at the moment, but either way though, things tend to happen sometimes, but either way. So, few things I want to explain, and that is the fact that, well, as far as what not only Silver the Hedgehog, but also Maxie has also forgotten to mention about this during the forms of just recently, that since about the fact that it's been like a week ago since the 4th Splatfest has already been shown up during the forms of, you know, about a week ago. That is by the forms of a chocolate-themed Splatfest, which there are milk chocolate, dark chocolate, and white chocolate. And I can definitely tell from the actual results so far, well, at least it already did show us the forms of that specific result already, that apparently though, a lot of players seemed able to vote white chocolate of all things. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure with the dark chocolate and milk chocolate, for whatever reason, they've got no points at all for its majority vote. But as a result, white chocolate gets a lot of votes, especially noticeable. I wasn't expecting to see that happening, but then I just somehow realized that, well, I do like white chocolate though, I must be honest here, so... Anyway, so let's go ahead and get to it with Act 3 of Collusion Chaos. So obviously this zone is filled to the brim with all these pinball flippers that you have to, like, get around with, even though it's almost like a casino vibes to it for this particular level. But either way though, let's not get ahead of ourselves, because we're about to take on Dr. Eggman anyway for its, you know, the entire pinball table while trying to able to get up there somehow. Just to ensure we'll make our way to the very top of this particular pinball table, so while trying to simply keep on popping those bubbles potentially so we can get ourselves a bit of an opening. So either way though, I suppose I should probably mention about this as well, I guess, is that you notice about the fact that with the opening cutscene of the forms of this particular Sonic CD opening sequence in this version, you do realize it's about the fact that the screen aspect ratio is actually a lot different this time, because I almost first thought it's going to be back onto the forms of widescreen, but it turns out it's actually converted back onto 4.3 aspect ratio, which it is a bit inconsistent sometimes though. But either way though, that's as far as saying goes, yeah. So here we go, on to Tidal Tempest Zone. So in some cases, the Sonic CD's equivalent to Labyrinth Zone. In fact, nowhere near as punishing compared to the forms of how it does it back on Sonic 1, luckily, so... Thus, to me though, this music is pretty peaceful, I'm not gonna lie. Well, I still honestly prefer the European and Japanese soundtrack of this particular theme song a little bit more, just because of how ambient that is. So, but that's just me anyway though, so... And also something's worth noting for is that every time whenever you do manage to able to get a coin, if you do manage to able to complete the special stage, or if you somehow manage to obtain a time stone, basically though is about the fact that rather than giving you 3 coins, unlike any forms of how it does it on Sonic the Hedgehog 1, and so applies to the forms of both Sonic 2, or actually kind of think about it, we'll get to the forms of Sonic 2 as soon as we get to, like, I don't know, next week or something like that for its weekend department. So relatively speaking though, rather than giving you 3 bonus coins if you complete the special stage, so instead you're able to get like just 1 bonus coin, and that's pretty much about it. So obviously I have no idea why they're managed able to go for that different number as far as I'm aware. So as a result, yeah, that's what I could ask for, so... And conveniently enough though, we've almost done with the forms of the time stones in this particular run-through of Sonic CD, relatively speaking, because, well, as a result, most of those stages, despite the fact that I managed able to complete most of those stages no problem within the quickest amount of time, especially noticeable because thanks to the actual time travel aspect as far as that's been concerned. But either way, time for the 5th special stage anyway, so... But either way though, much like the forms of Sonic the Hedgehog 1 on this compilation, you can still able to have the ability to retry this particular special stages by simply using those coins. However though, unlike any forms of how it does it on a 2011 remastered version of this game, of Sonic CD, that there's technically a method you can able to actually, like, you know, retry the special stages on the 2011 remastered version of the game, is by simply, if you think you run out of time, basically you have to get yourselves a quick reaction timing to able to pause the game, and basically you have to select the main menu. That's how essentially you can able to actually get back on track for able to keep trying the special stages again. So that's something I suppose that some Toys House has completely forgot to mention about back in 2017 either way. So, well, despite the fact that for the most part in Sonic's playthrough seems to go fine and dandy, however for Tails' playthrough though, we didn't seem able to get that much views for whatever reason. I'm guessing it's probably because most people have already seen his stages anyway, so relatively speaking, no, there's not much else to ask for, so... And as you probably already know, in terms of those playable characters in Sonic CD, as far as the forms of those playable characters in Sonic Origins, as far as I'm aware, there are only 2 playable characters, as far as I'm aware, because there's no playable Knuckles in this game. So, well, as far as what I do heard anyway though, that, relatively speaking, I think I'll let some toy sales were able to actually mention more about it, and during the forms of it, not only for Donkey Kong 64, but also with the forms of Mega Man X playthrough as well. So, in fact, kind of thinking about it, between both Mega Man X, alongside with Sonic CD, they are both gonna be like 30 years old this year, which, yeah, time flies, you know? And so applies to the forms of certain films as well, ranging from, I would classify as saying, The Nightmare Before Christmas, I can imagine. So, either way though, well, it has been a very long while since I actually just somehow mentioned about certain film releases for its anniversary stuff to cover. So, either way, now let's go ahead and get started with Act 2 of Tidal Tempest. So, and also something's worth noting for is that much like the forms of how it does it on the 2011 remastered version of Sonic CD, that as soon as you go in underwater, basically though you're able to actually hear that particular time is ticking for its drowning theme is about to appear. However though, unlike the forms of how it does it in 2011 version of this particular game, rather than just having the forms of the exactly the same sound pitch as the forms of how it does it in Sonic Generations, so for whatever reason in this game in particular, or in Sonic Origins version anyway, that basically it just gets like a tad high pitched compared to the forms of how it does it in the Sonic Generations drowning theme counting down. But either way though, I honestly have no idea why they're going for this change. So, no, I do apologize if my commentary is a little bit still to that point, because I got something croaky in my throat at the moment, which I do definitely need to fix that later on today. But either way though, because I need to be able to eat some more chili dogs, and hopefully it'll make it better, so. But either way, so, yeah, relatively speaking though, about the fact that there's another thing I would like to mention, is about the fact that, well, there's actually not one, but two birthdays has been happening for the sake of the forms of something related to, like, one of those famous actors. First of all, the voice actor that she did a voice of, let's just say, famously for Sandy Cheeks for the SpongeBob SquarePants cartoons, which is specifically Carlin Lawrence, the voice of Sandy Cheeks. She's now 56 years old, so yeah, happy 56th birthday. You know, because obviously about the fact that I do know what the actual character is, so even ever since, like, you know, very long time ago, since when I firstly introduced to, you know, the SpongeBob show, despite the fact that when I was young, I wasn't really interested in it until, like, 2009 was a thing for its 10th anniversary back in the day, so, relatively speaking, that's as far as I can say about it. So here we go with Special Stage 6. Now, this particular special stage is a bit tricky, especially noticeable how these, the layout is supposed to be. Especially noticeable, you have to avoid a lot of water, because if you dare touch the water, it actually decreases your time. But potentially speaking, there is actually a special blue UFO, to be more specifically a time UFO, that basically if you do destroy that, basically though it adds up to your timer. So relatively speaking though, that's all I could really say about this, I suppose. So, man, I'm really so glad able to actually revisit those special stages with their smooth frame rate again, because whenever I look back on the forms of the original version of this particular special stage of Sonic CD, well, ultimately speaking though, I did manage to play for a bit on Sonic Gems Collection version of Sonic CD on my PlayStation 2 version on my own time. Good lord, it's actually a lot difficult to get back into that version nowadays because of all that choppy frame rate here and there. Like, I understand about the forms of how the fact that that wasn't until when, you know, 2011 was a thing, before they working on Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 2. Well, despite that particular game does have mixed results, so there we go, we got ourselves the 6th time stone, so only one more to go, which is pretty obvious we're able to actually go and get it until whenever we get to Quartz Quadrant, so yeah, piece of cake, too easy. Well, despite the fact that you have to get a lot of emphasis on timing jumps and what have you, so anyways, now we actually destroy both of those robot generators for the majority of Tidal Tempest. That also means we've actually created the good future of Tidal Tempest, which from the look of it, looks nice as ever. So, certainly a lot more better than the bad future though, at least to me anyway though, because of all that whole depression of how the bad future actually looked. Especially noticeable with that particular music itself too. So, either way, let's just go ahead and chase after Eggman so we can potentially try to able to deal with him underwater. So, okay, something also worth noting for is that, relatively speaking, there's actually going to be something interesting is about to happen when it comes to the future points for Sonic the Hedgehog. Is that, first of all, it's about the fact that it looks like that the first major Sonic Frontiers DLC is in final stages of production so far. Like, I know for a fact that it might be strange for saying this, because I know for a fact that doing with DLC stuff might take a bit some time to able to get development time. But either way though, it still goes rather well for its DLC so far. So yeah, I do appreciate about this. And especially something's worth noting for is that there's also going to be something that's about to be up during the forms of well, it only just came out just recently for its articles and stuff like that. They might actually confirmed that the Sonic will able to have more 2D adventures in his future. So relatively speaking though, I am very curious to see what's going to be up for the sake of the Forms of the Future time for 2D Sonic after that particular mixed results of Sonic the Hedgehog 4 episodes 1 and 2, and even especially noticeable with a massive success of Sonic Mania / Sonic Mania Plus. So, but either way, that's as far as saying goes with that particular article effects I somehow managed to research on, that I do appreciate it being able to actually see what's going to be up next for 2D Sonic as far as I'm aware. And there's also the forms of how the fact that there's a new film is about to be approaching, and that's what appears to be by the forms of Strays, which, from the look of it anyway though, it only shows us the actual teaser poster, that it's more likely like a dog color. So basically though, it actually did say like restricted R-rated. So as a result though, I probably will pass it on to that, because I'm honestly still looking forward to able to like, you know, looking forward to able to be seeing a new Mario movie at some point about 2 months for now, or less than 2 months for now. So relatively speaking though, speaking of certain films I did somehow looking forward to be watching, by that time until today, I'm actually really looking forward to able to actually watching the next film I'm about to be seeing for the sake of the forms of today, after this video has been up. Basically, the next film I'm going to be watching, and to any forms of the cinemas anyway, and that's what appears to be Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So I'm really looking forward to see how that film is going to turn out. As far as the reviews are concerned though, I haven't exactly found that much reviews of it though, but I probably should ignore those for now, just because it might actually contain a lot of spoiled plot elements to the table. So, at least unlike me, that I don't have to tell any spoilers, so at least that's a good thing for my part. So, apart from a couple of exceptions though, for the sake of the forms of, well, I've got nothing more to say, so. Alright, on to the final special stage as we go to able to get ourselves the 7th and the final time stone. And unlike before we get into Sonic the Hedgehog 2, there is no way we can actually turn into Super Sonic in this game. So, or specifically in Sonic CD's case. So, here we go. Special stage 7, here we go. Oh, and by the way, something I also want to mention about, in terms of the forms of everything else as far as, you know, discussions work, that basically though, for what I've noticed, speaking of Super Mario Bros. Movie actually, they somehow managed able to bring us the actual info for the sake of the forms of Jack-specific figures for the likes of the Super Mario Bros. Movie so far, but I'm probably not going to able to send you the link of it though, just because it might contain some spoil elements to the actual film. So as a result though, I actually gotta think about it. When it gets to March at some point, well, obviously I'm still able to upload videos after all. But as far as looking up on stuff on YouTube from now on, and during the forms of when it gets to March, I think I'm actually gonna be ignoring YouTube from now on. well, at least I can still able to actually get my videos uploaded. But in terms of like watching certain things on YouTube, I'm also able to ignore the YouTube from now on, because it might actually contain a lot of like spoiled clips during the forms of the Super Mario Bros. Movie, which, oh boy, that might actually feel incredibly similar to the forms of how it does it in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, ever since it during the forms of it last year. So, but either way though, let's not get ahead of ourselves at this point, because we're still in February after all, so... Oh jeez, this UFO is actually really picky, but to be expected because the difficulty is a bit increased whenever you manage to able to get to the later special stages, so of course if you do manage to destroy those regular UFOs you get like 10 bonus rings, but if you destroy the blue UFOs, that actually gives you some more speed, so just to want to give you a heads up. So there we go. All 7 time stones have been collected, and what these time stones can do, it allows you to able to automatically let the robot generator get destroyed. So as a result, no need for time travel or anything else like that, so you should probably be able to actually go for the game as you normally would. So, especially noticeable because I still have no idea how do I supposed to able to travel back to the past in this part right here of Quartz Quadrant right there. Well, luckily though about the fact that in the 2011 remastered version of the game, and especially noticeable with Sonic Origins as well, thankfully there's auto-saving, so whilst unlike in Sonic Gems Collection version, to be more specifically based off of the PC version, it only saves once you get to the next zone rather than just get onto the next act. So, yeah, I can possibly understand how that seems to be the case, so... And yeah, something tells me, yeah, that robot generator right there has, you know, already been destroyed, because, well, we already got all the time stones now, so relatively speaking, no, that's all I can really say about this right here, so... Oh yeah, I should probably also mention about the last thing I want to mention for this point, for the actual sake of this point today. Well, recently, ever since about 6 days ago, well, I'm happy to report about the fact that Tara Strong, you know, the actual familiar voice, who she managed able to voice not only Bubbles from the Powerpuff Girls, the original series, mind you, but also with the forms of Angel from Lilo and Stitch TV series, and especially noticeable with the most important thing out of them all though, Twilight Sparkle from My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. She is recently now turning to 50 years old this year. So yeah, happy special 50th birthday, Tara Strong, because let me tell you, you are the most amazing actor I've ever heard. Especially noticeable because you did a really good job for able to actually doing some of these character voices from certain shows and occasional moments for certain video games as well. So yeah, I appreciate it. Oh god, I did not seriously pay attention to that at all, so whoops. But anyway, let's go and deal with the forms of that particular boss fight against with Robotnik. Now, you don't need to necessarily try to able to deal the amount of damage to Dr. Eggman, because all you really have to do is basically it's like a waiting game. So you have to wait until when he decides to able to get lowered down, and then eventually though, you should able to actually deal with this boss fight no problem. It's just that you need to avoid, you know, the spiked wall on the left, and that's pretty much about it basically. So yeah, let's go ahead and end things off this point right here while finishing off this particular zone. So yeah, join me next time for more of Let's Play of Sonic Origins while playing through Sonic CD. Is that we might as well finish up with Sonic CD by going through the final 3 zones in the game. So yeah, I will see you guys until tomorrow. Later, fellas.